Welcome back to Joyfully at Home. Now that we've had a Thanksgiving, and I trust everybody's had a wonderful Thanksgiving, we're going to go head first right into Christmas goodies. And this next recipe that we're going to show you it's fairly simple. It looks like you fussed a lot over them, but they're not difficult. There's only 3 ingredients, which makes it pretty nice. They're called cream wafer cookies, and they are a staple in our house at Christmas. And I've had these ever since I was young, and I took over the tradition of making those a long time ago. So we're going to go ahead and show you now how to make these wonderful little cookies for your Christmas. So as I say, these cream wafer cookies, they are an old-fashioned cookie that has been around for a very long time. And I've had them ever since I was little, which has been a long time. And they're super simple. They look fussy, but they make a wonderful addition to your cookie platters or anything like that. Any kind of Christmas parties. They're wonderful, and everybody always loves them. They have just 3 simple ingredients. So you're going to start out with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Then you're going to need an entire cup of either semi-melted or very room temperature butter. So that's 2 sticks. And this one, we got a little bit melty, but that's okay. It's fine. Either you want your butter to be at least room temperature, so you don't wind up with a difficult time trying to stir your butter into your flour. And then all you add to your butter and your flour is 1/3 cup of heavy whipping cream. Those 3 ingredients make this cookie. All there is to it is you mix this up into a dough, get this all incorporated together. So this is what your dough is going to look like once you have all your butter, your heavy cream, all beat right into your flour. It's going to be a nice creamy dough. And at this point, we take it, we split it into about 2 portions, and we wrap it in plastic wrap, chill it in the refrigerator for an hour. Once we have that dough chilled, we'll show you our next step. Now that your dough has chilled for an hour, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take one of our dough patties, open it up, and we're going to get it rolled out to about 1/4 of an inch thick. You can go between 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch thick. These are not a cookie that you want to have very thick at all, because as they bake, they are a very delicate little cookie. So make sure we got a decent amount of flour on our counter, or you can use a pastry board, whatever you have and whatever you're comfortable using. And just start to get this rolled out. And once we have it to our 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch thick, we'll show you what we do next with the cutting of our cookies. Now that you have your dough rolled out to your correct thickness, like I say, doesn't have to be exact, but be somewhere between 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch thick. What you need is a cookie cutter that's about 1 inch to 1.5 inches in diameter. If you can't find one, a little trick here is I've used a spice cap forever. This is the perfect size, and I've never gone out and tried to find the perfect little round cookie cutter. If you have one about that size, inch and a half, beautiful. But honestly, I've made these cookies for I can't even tell you how many years, and I've used this spice cap for all those years. So I just go ahead, take the spice cap off. That's all it is. It's the perfect size. And when you're done with your cookies, you just wash it like you would your cookie cutter. It works beautifully. So you just go ahead and you start just cutting your little circles. And sometimes with this, just like any other cookie cutter, you get a little stuck in there. You just tap it against the counter and it pops right out. Now from this point, you've got your perfect little dough circle. You take it into a little pan of sugar, and you just make sure you have both sides with a little bit of sugar on it, and then place your circles that have been sugared on an ungreased pan. So you go ahead and you continue that until you have a pan full of your little sugar-covered circles, and they can touch, unlike a lot of other cookies. On your pan, they can touch. That is not a problem. These cookies do not rise. They will puff because of the cream that's in them, but they don't rise and they don't spread. They will come out of your oven the same size, a little bit puffy and very, very delicate, like as if like a croissant crust. Like because of the butter and the cream in them, they'll be very flaky and very delicate and delicious. So we're going to go ahead and keep cutting our circles, and then we'll show you the trick to keeping them from puffing too much in the oven. Now that you have all your cookies cut and you have them sugared, if you were to at this point put them in your oven just like this, they would still be delicious, but most likely they would explode. And by explode, I mean the cream puffs as it bakes. And when that happens, then that very delicate texture of this cookie will crumble. So to prevent that, you take each cookie and prick it with a fork 3 to 4 times. That will prevent your cookie from building up air inside as it bakes and actually having the crust of the cookie break open and having your cookie crumble. So by doing this, that makes sure that your cookie will not technically explode. We will put these in a 375-degree oven, and we'll bake them for anywhere between 7 to 9 minutes, depending on your oven. They don't take long at all. You don't want them brown, but they'll just barely start to turn a little bit golden along the edge. That's when they're perfect. So we're going to go ahead and put these in the oven, and then we'll show you what they look like when they come out. Now that our cookies are completely done, you're going to want to take them off the pan. And as you can see, those little holes made it so they puff perfectly, but they did not burst. So they are perfectly done. And now we're going to go ahead and remove them off the pan to a piece of parchment to let them cool while we make our buttercream for the centers. Now that we have our cookies laid out on our parchment, you'll see that I've got some that are right side up and some that are the bottoms. And basically just flipping the cookie over so they're ready to go ahead and add your buttercream. And then you can just take the top, sandwich it right there. Makes it a little bit easier. It kind of gets you a little bit organized. And when you're doing a lot of these, like I've done several hundreds of these before, it helps to keep yourself a little bit more organized. But this, when you're doing a single batch of these, they'll make about 5 dozen of these little cookies, and they will go fast. So beware. You may want to try to double the batch, and you can do that. You can make a double batch of these. It's not a problem to double the recipe. So you'll see when you try these, they will go fast. So we're ready to go ahead and start working on our buttercream. So we'll do that now. And then by the time our buttercream is done, these little devils will be cool and ready to fill. So we're going to do a half a batch of American buttercream for these cookies because they take such a small amount of buttercream in the center of them. We don't need a lot of icing, so I'm just going to make a half a batch today. So we start with 1 stick or a half a cup of butter that's been softened at room temperature, makes it so it's perfect. We're going to go ahead and start our mixer up and get that kind of beat up a little bit. So now that we have our butter kind of beaten up a little bit and we've gotten it softened up a little bit more, we're going to add about a half a bag of powdered sugar. These generally are 2-pound bags, so you're going to want about 1 pound of powdered sugar. About a half a bag is perfect. So we're going to go ahead and start mixing that in with our butter, and it'll be very crumbly to begin with, very dry, and that's when we will then go ahead and drizzle in our milk to get the right consistency. We don't want it runny, obviously, for the center of these, but we don't want it too thick either. We want to be able to pipe it right out into our cookies with a decorator bag. So we're going to go ahead and get this started and get our icing mixed up. So now, as you can see, our icing, our buttercream is completely whipped up. And to get a nice consistency like this, it's a very spreadable consistency. It's not runny, but it's not too thick. It takes about a 1/4 cup of milk for this half batch, so to gain this kind of consistency. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to split up our icing so we can create our Christmassy colors. I just use gel icing colors. You can use liquids if you prefer, but I like the vibrancy that a gel color will give. So we're just going to put a little bit of icing in each of our bowls here. And we will then go ahead and get them colored up. With our Wilton colorings. You can use Arteco, anything that you like to use, any type of icing colors that you like. Like I say, liquids can work as well. I just prefer the gel colors because I like the colors that they turn to be. And just mix a little bit in, and you just stir it up until you get a nice Christmas green. Okay, now that we've got our buttercreams and we've gone ahead and put them in our pastry bag, just colored half green, half red, very simple. So now we can just take our pastry bag and just on the bottoms of our cookies, put our buttercream filling right in here and top our cookies off. There, and that's how your little wafer cookies will look when they're all done. Your little cream wafer cookies, they're nice and delicate and light. They're not a heavy cookie at all, but they are perfectly sweet and a wonderful treat at Christmas.